right, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. You ready?
Anytime. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Anytime.
Do I put my hands and give you a piece of this here cake, or do I just...
Yeah, you can eat all you want to, man. That's it. It's mostly coffee. We're in Taylorsville. We're at the T-Ville Scoops. You've always been from Taylorsville. This is where you grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd your family do here when you were growing up?
My dad was in the Navy, back during the 40s there. And we lived in with my grandma down other end of town. And you could walk to the movie theater, for a dime. Everybody here in Taylorsville had a race car. And they'd line them up on the street in front of that cab stand after you come out of the movie theater. And what they do, we get a cab to take us home. It's only, about 4 or 5 miles of country there, and for a quarter. But I'd step there and go up down the street and look at all that mud on them race cars from Hickory Speedway. And I wanted to ride one so bad, So a friend of ours, which lived real close, and they had a grease rack out there that you could drive up on. Well, my neighbor down there had a car that runs Hickory, and believe it or not, it was orange 77.
No way.
An old 36, 37 Ford Coupe. Anyway, he'd go down by my house on the highway and hit a dirt road, go back to his house, try that thing out. And I could hear it coming, and I'd go and go by there. So I ended up painting around, got 77 and had a yellow 77 red race car.
No way, man. So that's where the orange 77 come from, early. That was so you didn't start driving until early 60s, 62. And by 65, you'd won a championship in a hobby car.
Yeah.
This is all on dirt.
Yeah.
All your racing's been on dirt so far, right?
Yeah.
So what class did you move up to?
The late model sportsman, which eventually ended up being the Bush Series, now.
Who was there then? Because a lot of great drivers came out of Hickory. A lot of good drivers came out of Hickory through the years. But, who were you racing against, 64, 65, 66?
Well, it was racing really,
Then when you moved up to late model?
Yeah. They got a guy named Ned Setzer.
Setzer, yeah.
He was super good. He was the man to beat in Morgan Shepherd. He raced the same time I did. And at that time, Tommy Houston, and Hal Houston's brother Ken, they all raced, and the Keans, all those raced. They were good race car drivers.
I don't know what year this happened, okay, but my dad tells this story.
He come over.
What year did they come up there? What year? Who came up there?
Well, Ned said he's got Richard Petty and Bobby Isaac and Junior Johnson and Ned himself.
Yeah.
Them four going to drive a car. He picked the four out, which was track champion, and stuff. So he Chevelles. And so Richard picked my car. We raced first.
Yeah.
And I won the race. So Richard, he got my car. And we're all pumped up, he's going to win this race, So anyway, they line 2 by 2 out there, and they take off through the green. And they ran about 8 or 10 laps, and I think it's going to run 20. And so then they come off the corner 3 wide. Was still at this 2, but they're going to make it 3, and they all spin down the straightaway. And so got them lined back up, bent my fender a little bit, and so I went out on the racetrack, me and my crew guy out there, and Richard sitting in the car, and I'm jerking. He said, "Don't tear the car up." We're jerking, trying to beat. He's going, he's still leading the race at the spun around. So we figured, he's going to win the race. That's the first time I'd really been around him. I'd watched him.
You worked your way up there, and you ran a cup race for Junie. What, 73?
73.
73, and that was your first cup race. You ran Charlotte. How'd you get hooked up with Junie?
Well, Ned Jarrett.
Ned.
Yeah, we had our meeting. The banquet at Hickory. We had our banquet, and usually somebody will run a really big Bush sportsman race somewhere or another about the fall of the year. They run the 500, and so I'm leaving, and we win a whole bunch of trophies, and I'm carrying all these trophies, and Ned, come here. I said, "You want to run a Winston Cup car at Charlotte?" I said, "Yeah, I probably could." He said, "Well, you go down there Wednesday. Jeannie Dunleavy will have a car, Truxmore, Torino, in practice." And so I go down there. I'm used to seeing 8,000 RPM was our number, And so that thing had a 429 cubic inch motor, and met Junie, and it's all ready to go when I got there, and I had my uniform on and got in. He said, "Take it out on the track, fill it out, give it some gas, run a lap, and get a plug check." Okay. So I go out and I'm purring around at about 7,000 RPM. I'm going around, running around. I run about 4 or 5 laps and then a full ball. It don't turn but 72. And I didn't have much more, you know. And so I make that lap and cut it clean. I come coasting in, and this heavyset guy come out there, and he said, Junie's upset. Well, I done blowed this deal, you know.
Yeah.
Wow, you know. He said, here comes Junie, and he just quit talking.
Yeah.
Junie come up there and got down on his knee and put his arms up there, and he looked at that tack in there, and he put his and chewed that chewing gum, and he said, well, I can say one thing to you, Harry. You shake it down, you shake it down. I said, Junie, I thought it was going to turn 8,000, you know, and I didn't think I was going real fast, to tell you the truth, you know.
All right, so how did you you'd run a cup race in 73, you'd dabbled in it a few more times.
Doing for Son's car.
Yeah, Joe Frisson. Man, Joe Frisson was a piece of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we finished all of them.
Yeah, and you finished all of them. That's what I was going to say. I looked back and I looked at it and it was like, every car you got in, you finished races in. To me, that 79 rookie class, you, Earnhardt, Joe Milliken, and Terry Labonte is the greatest rookie class ever. When I look at the whole sport, when I go back and look at the sport, you guys came in and made a difference right off the bat. Right off the bat. You run second, you run third, you won races, you contended for championships from the get-go. How many years did you drive for Race Hill Farms?
Well, just about 81.
81. So you drove 79 to 81.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
You drove James's car, you drove Hamby's, you drove a lot of different, you put together, a lot of times you just put together a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody knows you, okay? Okay, you got a million nicknames. Handsome Harry, Mr. September, Skull Bandit, but that's how everybody knows you, as the Skull Bandit. Tell us a story on how you ended up with Burt Reynolds and with Hal Needham and with that team, because I remember that team coming about, and it was a big deal when they showed up.
Yeah.
It was a big deal when Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds showed up with Stan Barrett, because Barrett had run 980 million miles an hour in that rocket car. Remember, you know what I mean? Whatever that world record was, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was Hollywood come to NASCAR. You know what I mean? This was Hollywood. You know, this is something that had never happened before. So how did you end up?
Well, how I ended up being there, we was going to test Race Hill Farm.
Yeah.
Well, look, before we get there, Travis was going to be there with Stan Barrett. So he asked me, could I come down a couple of days early, you know? Yeah. So I go down, and so my job was to take the car out first.
Travis Carter's.
Yeah,
Travis Carter's
yeah.
the crew chief on that.
Right, yeah, the
Okay.
number 22, Scope was
Yeah.
sponsored. And I'd take it out, you know, and warm it up. And Stan, he would take it out then. It's sort of deceiving when you go out there early in the morning, that thing's under a shade.
Yeah.
You look like it's ice, you know.
Yeah.
But you know right off the start, when you start, you know, you go there enough that you can control it, you know it's okay. And so the next lap around, you know, I just nail it, you know. I think I run about 192, something like that. So I come in, and Stan, he got there, and it looked wet, you know.
Yeah.
Dan come over to me, and he says, how can you just get up and drink a cup of coffee and jump in the car and run 192 to 3 miles an hour? That's what we do.
Yeah.
You know, they had the telemetry on this car. Unreal. Hewlett-Packard furnished it. But
On the car at Daytona that year, they had
Yeah.
telemetry. Had you ever seen a car with telemetry?
No,
Yeah.
I never seen a computer before. This is the biggest, it looked like a refrigerator. And the screen, you know, it was
Yeah.
it's huge. And this guy was sitting there, this thing done everything. You know, he could pop up an engine in slow motion, 8 cylinders.
Yeah.
And it could show the guys how all the sensors were in all the cylinders. So everywhere, had sensors, G-force, everything. It's a super deal.
Wow.
It weighed 50 pounds sitting on the floorboard here.
Yeah.
And I was really interested. That was something.
Yeah.
And you go through the corner and you can see the wheels, you know, the right front. Here's this scale. Here's 4 wheels.
Yeah.
And, you know, and here's this motor showing all this stuff. He's flipping it back and forth. Man, this is something else.
Now, you mentioned you're going to use this at Talladega. Can this machinery or this sophisticated equipment give you immediate feedback during the race?
Oh yeah, it gives you feedback second to second while you're on the track. And also, we're recorded on a hard disk then we can bring it back and put it on tape. So a month from now or a year from now, we can take that race and just slide it into a recorder and look at it on television again.
What was Hal like? What kind of guy was Hal Needham?
Hal, he loved racing. That was a challenge for him, and he would love to have raced himself.
Yeah.
He called me up. He said, come out here. We're going to go to Russell Driving School at Riverside.
Yeah.
Little Formula V's. And he said, we just need to get together and talk a little bit. At the racetrack, you don't have no time, nothing like that, and have a little fun. So we go out to driving school. We're in class, and he raises his hand. He raises his hand, asking all these questions, Anyway, and finally, they give us 3,000 RPM, then they give us 4,000 RPM. Fourth running pretty good. That little hole up here is a tail tag, So they give us 4. Old Hal's got the little helmet on. I'm behind him. His head's bobbing, Open wheel, open cockpit. You come around like that heading down the backstretch, after they go through that sharp, and I'm right up against him. I just go, wham, down through there. And I pass him, then I back it down, and then I reach
up there and reset it.
When I get ready to come in next time around, I reset it, Well, ended that day, and Hal, he's already fussing. He said, how can he pass me if we're turning the same RPM? That guy said, look, he's just making time up in the turns. Hal said, it ain't in the turn, it's down the backstretch. So you can't see it much out there.
It's funny because they changed the sport. I feel like that Hal and Bert changed the sport a little bit, because we had Junior Johnson, Bud Moore, Richard Petty. You had those names and those companies that had on, and this was a new team.
Yeah.
But everywhere Hal went, it was a show.
Well, we only had one show car down in Winston.
Yeah.
Hal was the first to get the show car out. And he wanted a real race car show car.
Yeah.
And that's what he done. They fixed him a whole car, and we had a car all the time. Then he had hard bandettes.
Yeah. It was just he made it an event.
Yeah.
And that was what was cool, because it was like it brought something to the sport that hadn't been there before.
Well, here's one thing he brought to the sport. I tell you, I don't like to really do interviews in the racetrack. I'd always hide in a trailer.
Yeah.
And so anyway, a whole bunch of camera people I was on having come out there. He said, "Where's Gant?" Barry says, "He's up there in the trailer." "Gant, get out here." I go out there, talk about that, and they's doing the deal on the cameras. Said, "Go back inside." He said, "How come you wasn't out there?" And I said, "Well, I didn't want to go." He said, "I'm going to tell you something you need to do right now." Said, "If the camera don't come to you, you go to it. You go to that camera every time you get a chance." That's the way he was. He said, "We got sponsors out here that's, paying the bills on this car." And that's what I promised them.
Yeah.
And so that's what I done,
How involved was Bert in everything that went on?
Bert, he come to Atlanta last race. He didn't come that many races. I see him at the movies all the time. He liked to talk about it.
Yeah.
He liked to talk about it. He liked to go fast too.
Yeah.
He'd have probably liked to done it, but things sometimes you can't do what you really want to do.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we went to all the movies that they made, and I just sat there for a couple of days. Like $250. You get that was the base average.
Man, you were the star of Stroker Race. What are you talking about, man? How was Stroker Race?
Everything was funny. Everything was good. I tell you, the funniest thing though was Cannonball Run.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, out there in the desert, golly Martin, it was about 130, 100. And they had no town out there where they filmed movies at, and they had it rigged up there. It's no Spanish thing, Got a wall. And I'm going to tell you something, that's the hardest job in the whole world would be an actor, because they want you there in that desert, at that trailer or a hotel, wherever we're staying at there. They want you there before, they want you ready to talk, speak before the sun comes. When that sun cracks right through the thing, they be rolling, the cameras are rolling. Then they holler at you all day. And it don't matter who you are, Bert. I mean, Hal jumped all over him one day, and he said, "I'm just talking to Harry over here, and I'm trying to get my shot." And so anyway, it was really, really funny. But I got to go to every one they had. They had a whole bunch of Body Slam, Mega Force. There's a whole bunch of them.
So you went when they were doing movies and stuff, you'd go back and forth and hang out with them there. Mm-hmm. Did he ever talk about some of the stunts he had done and stuff like that? What was some of the crazy stuff that he
The stuff that's really, really crazy. Well, one of them, everybody's seen it. Whenever Bert's driving that car in Whiskey, White Lightning, and he jumps on that barge.
Yeah.
Well, he had that thing figured out and deals right. Well, here comes Hal. He's in the car, So he's doing 70 mile an hour and goes up that dirt bank they got built there. Well, that barge is a little bit quicker. It don't hit on the hay. It hung like that. Yeah. But it is a good shot, and it broke his back. See, the real film, if you see the real film, make cameras on him, he's laying down the floorboard of that car.
Yeah.
And he can't move, and they're trying to get him out of there. And he go to the doctor, and his back was broke, And he come back on the set. He didn't do no more stunts, but he come back to finish his job,
No way. Those guys were crazy. Yeah. You think people think you're crazy when you drive a race car, but that's crazy. What made him want to have a race car, have a cup car in the first place?
Humpy Wheeler. Okay, Humpy is down at Dixie Speedway in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay, he's just down there. He liked to go. Maybe we was even racing in Atlanta. Yeah. I don't really know, but Hal comes in. He's filming one of those whiskey movies down there.
Yeah, up in the mountains.
White Lightning, whatever.
Yeah.
And anyway, he comes in there in a limousine with two girls, and he goes up sweet and meets Humpy. Well, Humpy invites him to be the Grand Marshal at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And so he said, I want to do something more fantastic and, just saying start your engine or something like that. So he gets a helicopter, and he's going to hang from his helicopter with the American flag.
Yeah.
He's singing the Star Spangled Banner by foot. Yeah. The only thing about it, he said his back come loose. That big old flag is dragging him so hard. And but they come across in it. Well, then he gets back up in the suite, and he watched that race. And he said, man, that's what I want right there. And Humpy told me this. Humpy said, I told him, first you got to have is a sponsor.
Yeah.
You got to have a sponsor. Then you got to have a driver. Then you got to have a garage. And so he goes back to California, and he's trying to put something together. He's watching TV, and he sees Walt Garrison do a Skoal commercial on TV.
Yeah.
So he immediately contacted Bert and had Bert to they finally had people find out what the number, who to talk to. And so Bert, after he got somebody, Mr. Battle, our chairman board, Bert talks to him.
Yeah.
And tell him what he has in mind about starting a race team and come to California. So they fly to California, and Hal, he picked them up, a couple vice president and all, with two white limos out there, and they go to Bert's house. And he makes an entrance down the stairway, and he come down the stairway, and then, it's a done deal out there.
No way.
Yeah.
So Humpy meets Hal. Hal has the idea for the team. Hal gets Bert to sell the deal to Skoal, and that's how it all come about.
I believe he can coast the rest of the way.
Can he do it? Can he coast the rest of the way?
Well, is that one car pushing him now?
Nope, they're separated. They're separated at this moment. Here comes Harry Gant down for the checkered flag, and he wins it.
91 for you was a great year. It was like a career year. I mean, what was that September like? Because you won Darlington, Richmond, Dover, Martinsville, and was kicking their rear end at Wilkesboro, and the brakes run out on that. And that's what I'm saying. But I mean, for us, because we were racing against you, it was like, what they got? Because you know how it is. When somebody's beating you that bad as you were beating everybody, and it wasn't just, you weren't just winning races by a fender.
Well, if they call Reggie Jackson Mr. October, then Harry Gant has to be Mr. September.
I think other people was maybe working harder, and we wasn't. We had what we had.
Yeah.
And we didn't change it. I run the same car at every track.
But, as I look at your career and go back and look at it, there were multiple times in your career where you were right there at the championship, right there, and could see it. And did you ever look at it and say, we'll get them again next year, or I know I'm going to get this? You thought it was just around the corner. What was that 92 season like going?
Well, we were really pumped up, and we had our debt party, at the end of the season. That night we had that party, I knew we was going to win the championship next year, and we were going to win a lot of races.
Yeah.
Because we was just getting really rolling the last part there.
Yes.
And everything is set, and everything is great. And we had Terry Satchel, like I say, on the side, and Andy. And then Leo calls me about Christmas or a few weeks after we had our thing, for next year that Andy had left or going to Childress, you know. And boy, that just was like a boom to Leo and me too, and the rest of the team. You know, you just couldn't come back. We won 2 races, you know.
Yeah.
And,
won your last race that you won, Michigan. You were 52 years old, 219 days, according to what it said, and still oldest winner in this sport. Was there ever a time when you looked at it and you thought, man, here's a boy from Taylorsville, winning races at Darlington, winning races at Daytona, hanging out with Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin? Did you ever look at it and say, man, that racing has been good to me?
every day,
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and doing this, man. Thank you very much, Harry.
Hey Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.